In this week's parasha, the Torah describes the first meeting between Yitzchak and Rivka, the second of our mothers and fathers. Rivka is a young girl who's from Mesopotamia, far away from the land of Canaan. Abraham dispatches his trusty servant Eliezer to go there and to find a bride for his son Yitzchak, who for spiritual reasons cannot leave the land of Israel. Rivka is identified as the correct bride for Yitzchak. Negotiations happen with her family, and Eliezer is able to bring her back to meet her future husband. They're riding in caravan upon camels, and there in the distance, Rivka sees Yitzchak, and he looks astonishing. He looks very, very spiritual. And she says to Eliezer, "Who is that man?" And Eliezer says, "That's him. That's Yitzchak. That is to be your husband." She takes the veil, she covers her face, she falls off the camel. She's in total awe at the man that she is going to marry. And of course, this is one of the customs, one of the sources of the customs for a bride covering her face before the wedding or during the chuppah ceremony as a sign of modesty. Marry me not for what I look like, my physical appearance, but what I am underneath in my heart. What was Yitzchak doing? That he just happened to come out to the field? Did he know exactly when Eliezer would come back? It was a long, long journey. He had no idea. Well, the Torah tells us that Yitzchak went out, lasuach basadeh, to pray and to meditate in the field. And based on this, the sages tell us in the Talmud that he went and he did this lifnot erev, towards evening, in other words, in the late afternoon. From here we see that Yitzchak was the one who established the mincha prayer, the afternoon prayer service. He went out to pray. And clearly one of the things that he prayed for was that he should have a good shidduch. He should have a good wife, a good bride. And he was answered. In fact, he was answered immediately. And therefore our sages comment that we should be very careful about the mincha prayer. And Yitzchak is not the only example. The other famous example was Eliyahu Hanavi, the prophet Elijah, who went out on a contest against the false prophets of the Baal. And he challenged them. He said, "I'll build an altar, you build an altar. I'll bring up sacrifices, you bring up sacrifices, but no fire. No one is allowed to light a fire. I'll pray to my God, you pray to your gods. And we'll see whose God is correct and true. Will fire come down from heaven?" And the priests of the Baal, they made an altar, they brought sacrifices, they wailed, they cried, they cut themselves after their fashion. There was no fire. Eliyahu prayed to God, and miraculously, his sacrifice was consumed by heavenly fire. Everybody bowed down and said, "God is the true God." And it was Eliyahu who prayed at that time of the day, at mincha, and he was answered. So again, we see the importance of concentrating on the mincha prayer. What's so special about mincha? And our classical commentators tell us something so very beautiful. Shacharit, mincha, and ma'ariv represent different parts of our life. Shacharit is in the morning. Well, in the morning, you're not at work yet. You can come to shul, you can pray shacharit, and you can leave and you can go to work. Ma'ariv is in the evening. You already finished work. It's not such a big deal to say the ma'ariv prayer. But mincha is in the middle of the day, and that's always very tricky. Are you going to leave the office? Are you going to get there in time? Are you going to stop everything that you're doing and go and pray mincha? That's not so easy. And this corresponds to the three periods of a person's life. Shacharit is when you're young, you're carefree. You don't have a family or children or responsibilities. Judaism's not that hard when you're young. It's not such a big deal. You can go to school, you can learn about Judaism, you can come to shul, you can come on a Friday night and get a nice chocolate from the rabbi or whoever hands it out. You can come to a children's service. It's fantastic. It's not so hard to come to Shacharit. Ma'ariv, the evening service, it's also not that hard. That represents the evening of our lives. We're older. Perhaps we're retired. We've got time on our hands. We can come back to shul. We're not working anymore. And I've seen this many, many times. Senior citizens who after they've finished working, they're retired, they've got a lot of time on their hands. They come to shiurim. They come to services. They want to get involved in Judaism. They weren't that involved when they were in their middle years. But it's mincha that's tricky. Mincha represents the middle of our lives, our most productive period. We've got a family, we've got a job, we've got responsibilities. I don't have time for Judaism. Come along our sages and say, don't forget Yitzchak, and don't forget Eliyahu. In the middle of the day, that means in the middle of their most productive years, they stopped what they were doing and they gave time to God. No, it doesn't have to be the whole day, but to acknowledge the fact that even when you are busy, even when you are productive, even when you've got a lot of responsibilities, you don't forget your responsibility to God. So yes, Shachrit is important, and of course Ma'ariv is important, but Mincha represents our ability to give time and to give space to God in our lives, no matter how busy we may be. I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.